Psychotechnologies live. Woo!
So this is episode 13, which is I don't know enough about why the number 13 is bad. Do you have some clues?
This is I think just I don't know either. I think it's just made up.
I've seen buildings without an apartment number 13. I've seen hotels without a floor 13.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's just like superstition. There is a Kabbalistic significance to 13, but it's not bad luck.
Well, here's a question. Oh, there's a cool thing, which is because enough people think the number 13 is bad, there is less surgeries on the 13th. And yeah, absolutely. And there are less flights, or flights are slightly cheaper on the 13th. So if you don't believe in the 13 being an evil or a bad luck number, you should book your surgeries on the 13th because there's less demand, and fly on the 13th because it's cheaper.
Cool. I like it when Halloween turns out on Friday the 13th.
Ooh.
It's like a fun coincidence. But yeah, that's that's it. That's the only thing I know about it. The Kabbalistic significance is interesting. It's so a lot of numbers have Kabbalistic significance, meaning like it's like Kabbalah, meaning let's call it like the mystical side of Judaism. And so there's a song that we sing on Passover where we go through like each number and we talk about what's that reflective of. So it's who knows one, I know one is Hashem, like one is God. And then 2, 3, 4, and then the song ends at, I believe it's 13. I think it's 13 is the last one. And that would be, they call it the mitos of Hashem, like the character traits of God. But it's really, I think it's the character traits of mercy, which is how the world is actually run. So sorry, it's like the overlay on how the world is run. So like the world has this like we think of like justice as and fair and what should be and what shouldn't be, and then on top of that you need levels of mercy and compassion. And so in the Jewish tradition, they're broken down into 13 different aspects, I guess would be the word. I'm gonna have to translate this all, so I'm like just trying to pick the best English equivalent.
So I've gone to the premium source of knowledge of Wikipedia, and it looks like the 13 being unlucky goes back to as early as the Code of Hammurabi in 1780 BC. So that was a while ago. But where there's a vague mention to 13 being like to be discounted or something, but also the other highlights look to be the Last Supper had 13 attendees.
Right. Yeah.
So that was clearly a bad time for the guy.
Yeah, the 13th one that showed up, right? I know that because also in Harry Potter, now that you're talking, I'm remembering Harry Potter also, it's like a thing of 13 sit down, then it's a thing. It was a thing.
Oh, okay.
The books.
There's a couple other things. A full moon, a year with 13 full moons instead of 12 pose problems for monks in charge of calendars.
Yeah. Yes. In Judaism, so some cultures do lunar calendar instead of solar calendar. So, for example, the Muslims do a lunar calendar, and so the Ramadan is at a specific month based on the lunar calendar, but it switches, like it moves through the year, because the lunar cycle only takes 300. It's 11 days shorter, so it's 354 instead of 365. So you're going to get 11 days. It's going to be 11 days earlier every year. But in the Jewish cycle, they want to peg it to the seasons. So each month is the lunar month. So it's from when the moon is like the shortest until it's back again at the shortest. And because it's 11 days shorter, they add in an extra month every once in a while, which is 7 out of 19, I believe. And then there's like this system that a rabbi came up with 2,000 years ago on when to add the extra month, and that keeps us around the same time.
Right.
And,
So
yeah, it's not considered unlucky. It's just an extra month. It's called other shani.
yes, I kind of want to contextualize what we mean by unlucky in terms of psychotechnologies. Like, what is this phenomenon?
Yeah, because I don't think 13, like I haven't at least seen any evidence that 13 is unlucky, except that it's a prime number or whatever.
So there's a handful of superstitions that sort of cluster together. There's 13, there's breaking a mirror, there's walking under ladders, there's black cats, there's the throwing salt over your shoulder. There's this very small handful of
some of those make sense to me. The ladder one, like walking under a ladder, I think that is bad luck. People shouldn't do that unless they're like whatever, unless they're like in construction, they know what they're doing. Like if someone's on a ladder, just don't walk under them. Bad idea. As well as like opening an umbrella indoors. Like you really should, in general, you shouldn't be doing that because you're gonna probably knock something over.
See, that's a funny one, because umbrellas haven't been around for 500 years. They've only been around for much shorter periods. So for such a superstition to develop, it's quite a recent superstition.
Yeah, but it makes sense to me. Like,
yeah, it's fairly reasonable.
It's like playing ball in the house is also bad luck.
I get it that I don't know of any superstition that says so, but it makes sense as to why.
No, but I'm starting that superstition.
Oh, right.
Because I know it from my own life, right? As soon as people start throwing stuff around inside a house, and I'm not talking like in a gym or anywhere where it's designed to be that way, but just in your regular house, like stuff breaks.
Yeah. Right.
And
so
technically, if you were careful about it, it wouldn't. But
there's some kind of, from my perspective, we live in this world of layers, and there's different overarching systems. So these superstitions that are lucky, unlucky, don't really fit into the church-based spirit system, right? They're very different. Like ghosts don't even exist in Christianity, as far as I'm aware.
Well, you got the Holy Ghost.
That's true. You have spirits, but you don't have the like haunted mansion. Isn't like canon for Christianity.
I don't know about that. I probably some sects are like that. This does seem much more like a pagan thing,
right.
To be honest. And I think there is that monotheistic transfer from power resides in random things that are going on.
Mysterious, unexplainable phenomena in
all-encompassing God. But they still like some sects will pray to saints. I think this is more like Orthodoxy versus Protestants or Catholicism. But yeah, some of them will pray to saints or like invoke those powers and stuff.
Even like there's a branch of Buddhism that has the more mystical stuff, and there's the like more secular branch.
Yeah.
But so we have this fun little universe with superstitions, which like the number 13 being unlucky is not connected to, well, I guess it is. It's connected to a greater web of bad luck that will follow you around in a mysterious way if you do the things wrong, like walk under a ladder, break a mirror.
That's what people want you to think, but I think like as like because we're kind of metaphysicians in a way, like
right.
And like at least my interpretation, my understanding of the world is that the walking on a ladder is not necessarily, it's going to kind of follow you around in the sense that if you're the person that's walking under ladders all the time, you're probably doing a lot of other things that put you in prone, that make you
bad habit of walking under a ladder comes with many other bad habits of not being mindful or attentive to what you're doing.
Yeah.
Occasionally.
And you're not looking at like maybe you're looking only at the immediate, like, oh, I'm gonna walk here and everything will be fine, versus taking into consideration that things happen.
Right, your environment, like an awareness to the ladder that you're about to walk under.
Yeah, like not walking under ladders is a form of robustness. It is, right? Versus walking under ladders would be fragility. And then talking to people on ladders might be antifragility because you gotta have cool, fun conversations.
Anytime you see someone on a ladder, make sure you say hi to them.
Yeah, well, okay, so like you're joking around, but
That would solve your accidentally walking on the ladder things, because you always be looking out for people on ladders to say hi to, and then you won't accidentally walk onto ladders.
There we go. Yes. See, now we're getting into anti-fragile territory where you're looking for people doing interesting things and then starting conversations with them.
Yeah.
And like that's actually like great. Like now I'm in an apartment, so it's like harder, and also COVID and stuff. But like when you're in like a neighborhood, there's people around doing things, and you strike up conversations with them. Like interesting stuff happens, and that's fun. Like that's anti-fragile.
Yeah, very interesting. So okay, so we got the luck and the unluck of these like superstitions, but we got this bigger question here of like, what is energy?
Yeah, what is energy?
Like, what do we mean?
This is a good one. Yeah.
So and in asking this question, I like to come from the secular foundation for starters. Like, if someone says I'm out of energy, what the heck are they actually talking about when they say I'm?
Yeah, this is where I start as well, like starting on the very basic, simple level. Like I don't have the energy.
Right.
Like, what does that mean?
So
and to me, like just to say this, to me that like I don't have the energy, or I have a very high energy today. That to me is the same energy as like the chakra systems or whatever, like any of the spiritual stuff that when we talk about energy, it's the same thing. It's just like much like less sophisticated, I would say.
Yes.
But as you explore that, you get into these other systems as well.
Right. So when you say I don't have energy today, you're probably pointing to some sort of tiredness, right? That's a like basic.
Well, not necessarily. Yeah, it's sort of tiredness, but it's not, right? Like
there's a few versions of there will be a tiredness. Like you could be tired and
there's tiredness, but it's not necessarily sleepiness.
Right. There could be like more like a frustration. I don't have the energy. I'm frustrated. I don't have the energy to invest in solving this problem. I'm just frustrated at it.
I don't think that would be a correct. I think people might say that, but I don't think that's a correct description of what's going on. Well, if you're frustrated with it, then your energies are getting misaligned, right? Like that's essentially what frustration is that you're trying to do a thing and it's not working. So you're trying to direct your energy in a specific direction with a specific purpose, and then it's not happening. You don't know why, and that's frustrating.
Right. So suddenly energy.
You predict that it should.
Suddenly energy is the thing we can direct. You just brought in a new quality around energy. You can direct our energy.
For sure.
You still don't know what it is exactly, but you can direct it towards certain tasks.
Well, I think everybody knows what it is that we're talking about. Like all the listeners would have some idea of what we mean by energy.
Right. Well, I don't know. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. So where do you get energy from? This is a question that goes with what is energy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty extroverted, so a lot of my energy comes from other people.
Right. So there's like a type of energy that comes from engaging with other people.
Yeah, like when I'm with other people, I feel I'm more likely to do things and want to do things.
Right.
And so maybe I'm not like, I think there's like maybe a misnomer here. I'm not necessarily like vampirically sucking the energy from them, or I'm not taking it from them, but it makes it that the energy systems that are going on within me are, I guess it feels like they leak less. So when I'm with people and then there's like a back and forth energy exchange, or even if there's not, there's something about like the energy gets contained more. There's less entropy.
Right. So there's an idea of there is such an idea of energy vampires, and they seem we can describe them as like people seem to suck the energy out of other people.
Yeah, there's a show that goes through this. What We Do in the Night, where there's like vampires, and then there's also energy vampires, and then there's also emotional vampires.
Right. So particular for emotional vampires, there's a type of energy that is something like emotional energy, and they what do? do they?
Yeah, they're just like constantly needing you to regulate them emotionally.
Okay. So there's an energy of regulation here. Keeping.
Yeah, yeah. Like if I would be constant, if I would be like, oh, I'm feeling sad, and then or not like, because there's like a circling way to do it where you're just sharing what's going on, and then there's a.
If you were like, take care of me, I'm sick.
Yeah.
I know again.
Yeah. Yeah, like, oh, this, and then you reassure me. I'm like, oh, but then this thing, and I like this, and then at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, everything's fine, and then you're just exhausted and wiped. That would be like an emotional energy, like an emotional vampire kind of thing.
Right. Are there other types of vampiric energy?
Well, there's the energy vampire, which is
right.
Like if you show up at a party, everything's like going awesome, and then you show up there, and then everything stops being awesome and just being like awkward.
Like an anti-awesome vampire. You show up, you consume awesome energy.
Yeah, and then like you're enjoying it, but nobody else is, and then everybody else feels drained, and you feel good. Like then you're an emotional. You're an energy vampire.
Cool.
This is what I mean by energy. I think people get this now.
Well, yes and no, because the trouble with energy is we talk about so much with energy. Like if I were playing rugby, right? And someone hands me an energy drink. Like, what's that?
Oh.
Bearing in mind, we've still used the same word energy that we used for sleepiness, that we use for drain. Okay. We use for, here's another type of energy.
So putting real life aside and like going to like the commercial version of what energy drinks do, where like Red Bull gives you wings. Like you've seen the commercials, people are like, oh, this, and I have so much trouble doing stuff, and then they drink an energy drink, and then boom, now they're excited, and they're able to move, and they're able to go do all the things and fly and.
Right. So there's something like an excited energy or a flying energy or.
Well, they have this energy now to go do the stuff versus before they were in like a low energy state. Real life, I think, is a little more complicated than that, but. The caffeine and the sugar are both stimulants, and so you would feel.
You remind me of like the Snickers ads. So you have like someone who's very grumpy and angry, and then they get handed the chocolate bar, and then they're just normal. They're like, oh, I was just hungry.
Yeah, that's like a transformation of energy because you got low blood sugar, but some people will get really down when there's that, but like I think there is maybe like that downness of regulating yourself to being a positive person.
So there's the energy drink energy that's got some excitement to it, and then there's this low blood sugar energy that's a different type of energy too.
I think like on a very basic simple level, these are all the same thing. Like it's the same phenomenon. Like I would call this phenomenon energy, and then them breaking it down into different types or different things that promote it, different things that decrease it, and then different ways of and then if you're going to systematize it inside you, it's going to be something like the chakra system, and if you're going to look at it from a biological perspective, you're going to have things like blood sugar, you're going to have things like cortisol level or something, like various on that side. And then if you're talking like parties, then they're going to have like different party energies. Like is it a rave? Is it
there's something like a social energy, right? Oh, rave energy is very different to talking party energy.
But but there is like the energy. It's a very different form and flavor of that energy. But it's still like, to me, it's still energy is energy, right? Like, it's like kinetic versus potential energy, and if you're looking at it from a physics perspective.
Yeah, right. So bring in
thing, but they're in different forms.
The physics, we've got heat, we've got vibration, we've got kinetic. These are different forms of it. We've got potential energy.
Yeah, but it's all one energy.
Right.
And even if you take it a step further and get into relativity, where like E equals mc squared, then the mass itself is just energy in a different form, or vice versa.
Right.
And so like it's the same thing. Like it's the same thing, and they're interchangeable, but each thing is different, right? Like you wouldn't say falling is the same as a microphone, but on the energy level, like the fact they're both energy is the same.
Right.
But also what form it is makes a big difference on on your life.
So I was gonna disagree with you and be like, are you sure they're all the same energy? But then you've sort of given a big enough roundabout explanation that the different types of energy, like the social energy and the sugar energy, being still an energy but a different form of energy. So I'm not gonna disagree.
Yeah, and that's mostly just to lay the foundation so that we can be consistent in what we talk about, and then later when we start to break things up and categorize it, then you're gonna, like, we can use that word energy interchange, like across all these different places, and people aren't going to be able to read it out.
Yeah. Well, there is one challenging question I have for you, which would be, if it's all the same energy, can you just interchange them? Can I be like, oh, Daniel, you look,
convert, you can cross convert stuff.
You look tired. Here, drink some petrol. Like,
no, that won't convert.
That won't convert. So you can't. It's not like every energy.
Well, that won't convert in that way.
Humans
but
can't
if you start to burn the petrol, people get excited that things are burning, and that's a way to convert that energy.
That's all right. But so something like some systems are better at converting types of energy than other, or there are some ways to route energy to the other part of the system.
Yeah, and that's very.
Some pathways don't really work. You can't.
You can
eat vegetables, but you can't eat a tree.
Well, sorry.
You can eat vegetables, but you can't eat a tree. You can't eat solid wood.
Yeah, because you don't have the digestive capability to convert that into like ATP or whatever.
So we're still talking about energy, but some energy is not quite accessible. Or, if you want to get the energy out of the wood into digestive energy, you need to cook food by lighting a fire with the wood, have the cooked food then be digested by you, and then it's slightly more broken.
Yeah, like you could convert cellulose into something that's digestible.
Well, you could probably feed it to an animal and then eat the animal.
So you could do that. You could make it into wood alcohol, which you shouldn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would poison you. But
does any like wooden thing become alcohol? I don't actually know.
Any it's like, I think it's cellulose, but it's the wrong one. So we'll turn it into methanol instead of ethanol.
Right.
You need so it's essentially like moonshine is like the reason why you don't necessarily want to just make your own alcohol at home is because whenever you make alcohol, it makes it methanol and ethanol, and if you get, luckily the cure for methanol poisoning is ethanol, so in general, like, you're fine. But if you get the wrong, like if you get a concentration of it, then you'll die or go blind and die. So yeah, you gotta be careful when you're distilling, and that's why it's illegal in most places for normal people to distill without a license.
In my jurisdiction, it's illegal to brew your own alcohol because they want to tax it, and there's extra taxes on alcohol.
Yeah,
it's not illegal because.
I gave like the stated reason, right? Like probably the actual reason.
I wonder. I don't know of any jurisdiction where it's illegal just to do. It's more like illegal to sell alcohol here without paying taxes.
Oh. No, in Ontario, it's illegal to distill. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to distill your own alcohol. I don't think they necessarily come after you unless you're selling.
Right.
But it's technically legal.
I'm pretty sure it's legal here you do whatever you like as long as you don't sell it, sort of thing. Although
that's how it should be more.
If you were distilling, they would probably be checking real carefully if you weren't selling or giving away to your friends or somehow trafficking in alcohol.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So right. So we've got the energy phenomena, we've got different types of energy, and then we've got transfer pathways to get the energy from one type into another.
Yeah. To use a metaphor, it's like It's like energy systems in the world
like
where
electricity
like
systems,
you have oil.
like electricity and power systems.
Yeah, yeah. Like you're converting petrol into gasoline, into electricity, into
Mhm.
a
Right.
thing. I don't know.
Right. So we're doing that thing, but we're doing it with body systems where there's a tiredness and there's some sort of sugar energy system, and
Yeah,
there's a social energy system, and then there's
yeah,
the excited energy system, and there,
yeah. And you get destructive energy as well.
like if I'm very angry,
Yeah,
or
like if you piss someone off, they're gonna get angry and then they're gonna come at you. And it's cool because we even talk about it this way where often when people are fighting, like it's not about the thing that happened, it's about some other thing that's going on in their life. And so really what you're doing is you're like breaking down a barrier or setting a doing a domino effect where now this other energy, because their wife yelled at them this morning and belittled them, and now they've been holding on to that, and now you triggered the thing, so now that's coming out at you,
right.
and then they get that catharsis release where this energy was misplaced because they were carrying it around, couldn't do anything about it, and now that they've released it, they feel a lot better and like calmer.
Right. Right. So there's something like an excess of energy. There's an excess
Misplaced. Yeah, I would. Yeah,
misplaced.
like
Okay.
there's an excess energy in a location or something. Yeah, I don't want to say like excess energy. It feels very judgmental, but yeah.
Well, you can just be too angry or too excited.
Yeah, yeah.
You can just be too excited.
Yeah, but it feels a little judgy. But yeah, I guess so. I mean, like because you're judging it. You're saying this person had like when I'm doing it with like I'm trying to put my baby. Last night he was up in the middle of the night. And so like I'm conceptualizing it as he has too much energy because he wants to play and hang out and have fun. And I want to go to sleep. And so I'm saying that I'm right because it's the middle of the night and that's when people should be sleeping.
Mhm.
And he's saying, well, I want to party now. So I have the right amount of energy.
Right.
And so there is like a judgmental there of what is right and what is wrong. But I think it's okay to do that, but just notice that that's what you're doing.
Okay. So there's also judgmental energy.
Sure. Like I guess there's energy you could definitely label as judgmental for sure. Yeah.
Well, like I feel like I have a judgmental attitude to the world somehow. I have the judgy energy.
Sure. Yeah.
There's another one there. There's challenger energy. So we've moved away from like sugar energy and tiredness energy into more what I would call like slightly more subtle forms of energy. So suddenly judgmental energy, challenger energy, maybe like your energy. They're different. They're different flavors of energy again.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
There would be like innovation energy. There would be entrepreneurship energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, like that. And even within those spaces.
Hustle energy.
Yeah, like a hustle energy is going to be different than like let's say like a Y Combinator startup energy. I need a better term for that because I would just call it Y Combinator, but because like they're like the biggest players in that field, but they're not the only ones for sure.
Right.
But like yeah, there's like that energy that those are like almost vibes though. Like I would say there's like vibes versus energy.
Well, it sort of depends on how much you deliberately have control over that vibe. If you're flying around on a whim and today I have creative energy and tomorrow I don't, then it's more like a vibe, right? Creative vibe, easy come, easy go. But if you can consistently cause creative energy to happen, then it becomes a skill that you have this form of energy in control, in skillful, skillful manipulation, maybe.
Yeah, so you're saying like if we can create this like creative energy, then we're gonna get like that's really useful. I agree, but I like to me the way I'm thinking about this as a psychotechnologist is that when I'm trying to like transform someone I'm thinking of it as a transformation versus a creation. So to create creative energy is to create energy is just brutal, but to change energy is
transformation. So someone has depressed energy and you're like, just create happy energy. That's going to be a lot harder than transforming depressed energy into
yeah
right.
Yeah, or to transform the structures of their life that would take the energy, like the natural energy that's, I guess, God given or something, or however you want to frame it, or that's evolution given,
Life given, maybe. Cautiously.
life given. Yeah.
Like life does this thing where it keeps on living, provided that you're within fairly reasonable bounds of like heat, oxygen, whatever. Life just keeps on going until it gets off.
Yeah, I actually think that's what's going on, though I can't prove it yet necessarily. But I think like our cells and our body, like they take energy in, like we take energy in, and they digest and they turn to energy, and then you, like, the system itself gets excess energy if it's done right. Like if you end up in like a depression state, I think it's like your system is not creating enough excess energy, or the energy is not getting, like, it's not getting transformed through you in ways that will generate energy in the future.
Right. So there's a question here of, if you take someone who's depressed, can you just, and this is, we talked about a moment ago, energies can transform into different types of energy, right? So if you take someone who's depressed and you give them a bunch of food, will you make their depression go away? Can you solve
so like obviously food's not a cure for depression, but there is a thing like that is part of the system, right? So right. I was in a really bad depressive episode, and I wasn't eating, and there was a thing where I was like, okay, I got to eat every single day, and that does make a difference. And then I went to eat. I have to eat 3 times a day,
right?
And then unfortunately, I kept going. I'm overweight, but
but hey, at least you're not depressed anymore.
So. Yeah, and I'm very grateful for that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so there's something really interesting there of energy is in balance, that you did too much food and now you're on the overweight side.
Yeah. You can hear me, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, there I know it because I got the system up and running so that I would be eating, and I would be eating more every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really good for a while. And then I hit an inflection point and I wasn't able to switch that off exactly. So I am going back and having to like redo my attitudes towards food. Because there was a point where eating anything was good, and now I'm obviously past that. And then there's the other thing is like yeah, eating food is good, but then if you eat too much, now I have to carry all this weight around. So that's a tax on my energy systems. So like doing physical activity is harder, and yeah, because like it requires more energy. And then there's something about the connection of the reserves. Like you would think that if you're fat, you would just be able to like have more energy reserves, and you'd be able to just like access that. But that only really works over a period of time. So we're in a starvation situation, I'll be able to survive longer. But just day-to-day stuff, it's not like that converts. Like that doesn't convert easily. Like I don't really know how it works. It's like biological stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't. You can't just keep going and like have permanent access to that. But if you did, it would be awesome, man.
Right. Okay. So there's, like we said earlier, it's not so easy to convert from one type of energy to another sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes not. Yeah. Like I think gasoline to heat is pretty easy, but yeah, like cellulose to moving a TV is a little bit harder.
Yeah, or even running a TV. Cellulose to TV, make pictures.
Yeah, well, they would you could use like a wood fire generator.
Right. Well, you'd have to do that, right? Wood fire, heating water, making steam turn a generator, generating electricity to power the TV.
Yeah, so that was very hard the first time, but now you need to go to the
it's easy.
Wood fire generator, and then we'll do all that for you, because somebody put a lot of energy into making that conversion process really easy.
Right. Okay. So so bringing more psychotechnology in. So now we've built this really big map of different types of energy, and we've noticed a couple of phenomena like the energy
I
system.
haven't really built a map. We just talked about it a bunch, but yeah.
Well, but this is a map, right?
We're building the map, yeah.
Energy needs to be in balance. Energy is everything from kinetic energy to I eat a sandwich to I'm feeling tired. Like we're saying, it's the same energy.
Yeah. Well, I'm hypothesizing that it's the same energy, but like, yeah. I mean, like, yeah, I like usually I'll put a because I don't want to start getting into physics stuff because people get all like whatever. Like they like the demarcation between physics.
Look, physics is in our area. We're psychotechnologists.
Yeah.
In mind, so in our area. And so we should leave physics to the physicians, the physicists.
Physicists, yeah.
And leave the psychotechnologies to us. Unfortunately, we've got like metaphor language that everyone borrows from everyone, but we're going to stay away from physics because we're going to leave that to the physicists, and we're going to stay in psychotechnology. So here we are with energy. So people in psychotechnology land often talk about energy work. What the heck is energy work?
Yeah.
Right. So we got energy work, and then we've got like, why do the hippies that talk about energy, and what are they meaning by energy when they talk about energy?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I want to throw up vibes as well.
Vibes.
So vibes is like short for vibrations. So it's essentially like if you have like AC or DC, those are different vibes. Like those are they exist on different vibrations. So DC is just direct current versus AC, you're alternating. It's alternating current. So it's literally like a different vibration. Right. Or versus a microwave versus a radio, they're both sending out energy waves, but they're on different vibrations, and so they'll have different effects.
Right.
And so that's the other way of like.
So there's this very cautious thing where physics really knows about vibration, right? Waves, right? And then energy workers start talking about vibration.
This field is
talking about some sort of different form of vibration with some tenuous link in the middle that we're not going to really examine too closely because we're just going to tie ourselves up in knots because we're not technical enough. But a fact is that the energy...
It's just a hypothesis. Yeah. I'm just hypothesizing that these are the same things, just in different forms, but I don't...
Physicists would argue with you, the energy workers might question you, or might like strongly stand for vibration being the same vibration all the way through. Depending on who
No, it's different frequencies of vibrations for sure.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know if it's gonna break out into the same way of that. Like energy frequency in physics is like height
wavelength.
Height, wavelength, and the third one, which is I think just
amplitude.
Yes. So I don't know if it actually I'm not able to say this vibe that we're doing now is this frequency. Like that's beyond at least where I'm at.
Right.
But yeah, I mean you definitely have amplitude, like how intense is the session, or how we use different metrics, but also like I want to acknowledge that it's not really like a science yet.
Well, this is the danger of interior sciences. They're a bit more hard to verify than empirical science.
Yeah, and even past the verification process, there are a lot of like systems for describing different parts of it, but like a sort of all-encompassing simplified version of this is.
So I consider this conversation as like sort of a bridge between me coming out of science and rationality and going into weird energy work. And being now able to translate back to the people who are still hanging out in that science territory. What do these weirdos and the hippies mean when they say energy? Right.
So sorry, I keep doing the disclaimers because I don't want to fall into like the same traps everyone else does. So I'm just gonna do one last disclaimer of we're sort of exploring it. And we're trying to do more of a translation versus saying what is going on, what is the science, is exactly how it is, it's next or not. So it's a lot of translation because I found that was super helpful to be able to understand what the hell people are talking about. They actually do mean things, even if it sounds like gibberish. And so it's this.
There's a really low energy in this room right now. what the heck are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, yeah. And they're talking about stuff that's actually really useful and important.
well, the other important thing I would say is that there is a level of personal subjective sensing that when I was in the science realm more deeply, I didn't really tune into or didn't really check on. And now that I have become more well-rounded into the weird stuff, I'm like, oh, when someone says there's a low energy, I can be like, I can sense into my experience of my surroundings, go, are they talking about like that thing that I can kind of sense? It feels a bit like heavy or something.
Yeah.
Right. And I can do that sort of correlation in that conversation with that person because I have the awareness, and when they say there's low energy, I can be like, oh, you mean that heavy thing? Like, okay, I call it a heavy thing, you call it low energy, but we
yeah, and trying to get that language, like this is what I'd love to do, is like getting the language more consistent. So that would help with the mimetic mediation, right?
Yeah.
Where we can describe different phenomenon. And just to go back to your other point, when you're saying when you're first there and you're attuning to it, for this, like the thing, like the instrument that you're using for this, what will be a science one day, is like is your body, is your soul or whatever.
Be careful with the word soul. That's a very
right. I'm gonna mean it in a vague way.
Right. But I can be a bit more concrete. I can be like you use your sensory perceptions in your body, so your touch, your temperature sense, your general intuition about how things feel, in order to sense into that flavor of the energy of the room.
Right, in order to like taste it, that's like tasting it, right?
Right. So immediately we've switched metaphors, right? I went from touch to heat to taste, right?
No. The touching, like, yeah, okay, I guess kind of.
And then it's dangerous when you start talking metaphors because we can be really confusing, right? Because I just jump between them. And so I wanted to be like overt, like here, I just switched metaphors because there's something like taste, but obviously we don't have a word like taste for touching things, right? I can enjoy the touch of things, and like sometimes things are really soft. Oh, soft is a nice like taste.
That's a good point.
And so
I do like it's like it's like a feel. You have it for the mouth, like you have a mouth feel, which is when you enjoy the way the food feels in your mouth.
Like grapes have a good crunch, or like cucumbers, you go.
And you gotta like play with your tongue, and like like I like the mouth feel of beans, and a lot of other people don't.
Ooh.
Like that's one of those diverse.
Well, there's the really bad mouth feel of like raw banana. You're like, bleh.
I don't like the taste. Is it the mouthfeel that you don't like?
No, no, it's not a raw banana. Has a very specific,
like green bananas?
Yeah, green bananas. If they're too green, there's a when I bite into a green banana, and notice I've gone very first person subjective, right? When I bite into a green banana,
because this is the attunement, like this is the
right,
the actual tools that you have.
To me, it's not like a flavor. It's like it feels like biting into a spider web. Like it's like a flavor of rawness.
Like a flavor or a feel?
It's a mix. It's more like a feel because it doesn't taste like much, but it has this terrible feel of like just bit it into stuffing or something, but you can't get it off. When I do this, I'm like I like try and wipe it out.
Like to your tongue.
Well, yeah, kind of the raw thing sticks to the tongue, and I really don't like that feeling. Maybe you don't get that feeling.
I haven't eaten a raw banana in like a really long time.
Feel free to bite into a raw banana and remind me.
Unfortunately, our bananas here just got ripe.
Okay.
So I won't be able to do that.
Yeah, I guess maybe we don't. They don't. Maybe next week. Less often these days do I see a green banana on a supermarket shelf. They're pretty ripe when they're on the shelf. But if they're like, the more green they are, the more obvious that like horribly unripe banana flavor. It's what other fruits?
I don't like it. Like it feels like I'm eating something raw. versus a ripe banana feels like the vibe. Like we're going back to the vibes, right? Like a ripe banana has a different vibe than a green banana, which has a different vibe than like a really ripe banana. So like I think like this is like a good one, like to sort of use to sort of like describe a scenario and using this language that
Okay,
everybody
so I've been looking for words, and one of them is like a tartiness. Like the banana has a tart to it. It's like really sharp.
Yeah, but sometimes tart is good, right? If you eat like a lemon tart, it's so
Right.
if you eat like lemon dish, that's gonna have a nice that could have a really nice tart.
Right, and there's a deliberate place for that flavor, but this is a non-enjoy. Anyway, this is phenomenology of bananas. We're suddenly in phenomenology.
Yeah, we're in the phenomenology of bananas, and I think this is actually a good example to be using these concepts on. Because like for instance, like an overripe banana that's not brown, a lot of people find very gross. Like they don't like the vibes, even though it tastes really good, like it tastes sweet. But then there's like the way that they're eating it, like that mushiness in their mouth gives them this like uck feeling or something.
Oh, interesting. I know people who don't like the mouthfeel of cake. Like the consistency isn't
Really?
Yeah. Like specifically cake. It's like too fluffy or it's not right. I don't know. I'm not.
I've actually never heard that one. But okay, I'll believe you. Yeah.
Like my grandma didn't really like cake.
Yeah, some people don't like cake. I don't really love cake.
She'd be okay with like thicker, like more dense, like a cheesecake would be fine, but she wouldn't really like fluffy cakes was not her thing.
Oh, if it's really fluffy, then it's good. But I don't like cakes often because like there's like cakes or whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's get back to stuff.
Energy. Like, what do we mean by energy? This was the big question. And so here I am building the map of the different types of generic energy, like excited energy, and then expanding that into the more subtle energy territory. And then of course you brought up the vibes, right? The room can feel a particular flavor, like an awkward energy. The room can feel awkward. You're making it awkward now. Look at him.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I wanted to show what's going on, right? And like that's a certain kind of energy, right? And I like there's a certain like if you're oriented in the correct way, that's actually that could feel good and that could be enjoyable and useful. And if you're like oriented wrong, like all of a sudden, oh, it's awkward, and now there's this like huge, like you can like develop this huge fear and anxiety and all these other things around that.
Right. So when we talk about energy work, or the weird metaphysicians talk about being able to move energy or control energy, you know, there's what's the thing with the smudging? Do you know what smudging is? Is that a word here? You get
smudging like ink?
Like no, with you get a thing of sage and you wrap it with string and you light the end and then you wave it around the room.
Oh, like incense, kind of
like an incense, but there's a very specific one called smudging, which is done with white sage, and it's done by it's more of a ritualized cleansing of the energy of a room or house. Or
I'm not familiar with that.
It's more Australian or more ceremonial in some places and not others. Anyway, there's something called smudging.
I am familiar with like the smells, like having different smells have just like or music is a really big one that people are into. But like that will create a different environment.
Right. So sometimes changing the music and changing the smell can transform the environment enough to make it feel like there's a different flavor of energy in the room.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure. Like you put a couple things away and get some peppermint in the air, and all of a sudden you get this like clean.
Right. There's the smell of like nice clean products, like cleaning products.
Yeah.
Like, this house smells like it's been recently cleaned.
Yeah.
Well, like
like so like if you wanted, like if you're trying to like, yeah, so when you're inviting people over, like even just having that smell in the air gives them like it like they'll kind of reinterpret what's going on in a more like fresh way.
Right. So there's something interesting here. There's something that I will name and coin as a sensitivity. And I was talking to someone yesterday, and it does seem like the people who have journeyed into spiritual technologies and more subtle phenomena are quite very much more sensitive to these experiences. So an ordinary person could walk into a room and be like, doesn't smell so great, but I don't care. But a subtle aware person, someone who's more sensitive to these things, may walk into the room and go, this is bad energy. We need to change the airflow, light some incense, and
because like if a room smells stale, like at least for me, I'm looking for like it's that's making me nervous.
Right. So there's something of like a sensitivity to energy.
Yeah. And in the olden days, I wouldn't have done that. Like I wouldn't have noticed that. Or like often is like if it smells like baking cookies or like a good meal, like it feels very at home.
Right.
And you get that home vibe, which you don't necessarily want to do that in a club. Right? Because that would be like you'll be mixing the energies. But maybe you do, like maybe they're gonna like someone's gonna create a blend where there's like a club that feels like home. Like but if you're usually like those would be sort of an alternate.
Right. So there's something important here if I'm going to try and offer a translation to the scientific rationalists of what do we mean by energy. There's something here where the people who are talking about energy are probably quite sensitive and talking to a very small amount of difference. Like the smell is slightly different, and where most people don't notice, these people are like, oh, that's different enough, then I'm going to complain about it and dance around and wave some smelling incense.
Well, yeah, like I guess they're trying to change the vibes into, or maybe even doing a transfer, right? Because often what you'll do to change energies is you'll just do something like extremely different, and as like a sort of like a palate cleanser, and then you'll move in. So like it's the same thing with cooking. Like if you're tasting dishes, you'll often like you'll smell coffee. You'll smell coffee for smells, and maybe you'll eat like a cracker or something for in between dishes, because otherwise things start to blend together and you're losing that distinction.
So do you, in your life, do you have activities that are palate cleansers in between different modes of your life?
I use meditation a lot for that. Because that's mostly how I meditate today, is where like the energies have been starting to blend together and I'm doing something and there's just all this information coming at me, or all these feelings or vibes that are just not like, and I'm like looking at it like I can't see what's real. I can't see what's outside me and what's inside me. And so I'm just okay, like I'll just sit there and try to like ideally like low stimulus environment, and then anything that's happening is coming from inside.
Right, and that so you have an experience where your inner world is agitated, and so you go and sit in a low stimulus environment, and then you know that the agitation is not coming from your exterior, it's only, and then it swirls around for a while and it settles, and then you go back into the outside and you're no longer agitated. It's usually like it locks into an equilibrium, so and then I'll notice the equilibrium, and if I like it then I'm done, and if I don't like it then stay there until I get to appropriate equilibrium. I mean, not always, like whatever, but sometimes
let's say in general
time, and so the time pressure is more important than the equilibrium, but at least I'm a little bit closer to what I would prefer.
Yeah, sometimes if it's time, like if there's a time thing, then I'll usually set an alarm.
Yeah.
And then I just get as much of it done as I can, and let it settle as much as I can, and because I'm not really doing anything, right? Because it's mostly do nothing meditation. Like the palate cleanser would be the do nothing meditation, or a noticing meditation without a noting. Because even when you're noting, you're making sure like you're influencing the system. But if you're just doing nothing, or if you're just noticing, then yeah, like the stimulation, like you're not feeding that system. So any of the old patterns that are there will just run themselves out or interact, and then you'll be empty again.
Mm, right. Yeah. So I have one thing I worked on for a while and have eventually sort of relaxed about was that when my system is settled enough, I sort of get closer to the best possible outcome of in the world. Like if I'm listening to someone and I have absolutely nothing else on my mind, I will be able to listen closer and probably cause a better transformation than if I
Yeah.
have half of my day on my mind and I'm trying to listen here. So
Yeah.
I really, really crave that isolate and reset process. And then I realized that the amount in which I was craving that was actually causing more problems.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I needed to, and then, the crazy thing is the reset will work. Like I'll isolate and reset and settle and then I would realize that I couldn't stay settled because I'd stand up and go do something else. And immediately 30 seconds later, I'm already like the world is more complex. And so recognizing how quickly it fades helped me to realize, oh, it doesn't help that much anyway. And if the world is too complicated and I just don't have time to sit and relax and settle down, then it's not so bad to just go with it. This is what I have.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Doing my best.
that's actually, it's funny when you were talking, I was actually going to suggest that kind of thing.
Mm.
Like for me at first, it was very much like I needed to get permission to do nothing.
Mm.
And so there was like, oh, I'm meditating, so I can sit and let the reset happen.
Mm.
And the circling stuff actually really helped because I got to practice doing nothing in the middle of a conversation. So there'd be like stuff happening, and in circling, you don't have to say anything if you don't want to. And so sometimes there would be like all this stuff happening inside me, inside this, and I'm just, it's not a full meditation because there's still stimulus on. Sorry, it's not the same meditation because there's still stimulus on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
But now I if I'm not adding energy to the system, I get to see what's going on when I don't do things. And then like as I'm doing that, like I practice that. Circling is great for this because like really anything goes.
Right.
As long as you're not like.
You described that sometimes you'd have like a pressure to participate in the conversation or a pressure to be a certain way.
Yeah.
By circling and not doing anything, you realize that pressure was unnecessary and you didn't need to put yourself in that pressure.
I sometimes that's the insight, but even just experiencing the pressure is really, it's mostly just experiencing the pressure. People don't really experience pressure. Like they experience pressure and then they react to it. You don't experience pressure and then sees what happens when you don't. And sometimes there's a reason. Very often there is a reason why why that pressure is correct. But you need to sometimes see what happens when you make those, I guess, mistakes or something, or when you do the thing that's not ideal for whatever, because then it gives you another option in life where you can just take some time and think. And that's amazing in negotiations and stuff where you just, things are going on and you feel all this pressure and you just, I need to think about this for a second and just like take a second to think about it. It gives off a real, if you do it right, it gives off a real power vibe. Because like, I'm this guy that can just take time to think about things. Look at me, I'm so cool. I can think. But this is a negotiating tactic, right? With silence. Like not answering first and being like, it's a negotiation tactic because there's all this pressure to do it. And if you can show that you're stronger than the situation, that gives you leverage.
Right. We talked about this. I'm gonna say it was around episode 2. I was talking about selling a car, and hanging out with the other person was made a lowball offer about 1,000 short, and you know what's uncomfortable? Hanging out with the fact that someone's offered $1,000 short.
Yeah, because then they start doing all the self-doubt, all that stuff.
Right. But my ability to stay there and like just kind of say no or stay with it was my ability to get the price to go close to where I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
Like that's a real skill.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember saying before that it's kind of a dick move in a way, and I still kind of agree with that. But also you need to be able to do this.
Right. But the point I made there was that my skill in being able to stay with it and stay uncomfortable and sit is my ability to save $1,000 or so in that interaction.
Yeah. And you essentially like were in an uncomfortable situation for like what, 10 seconds?
Yeah, right. Like a couple minutes. Yeah.
And I think probably if you hadn't practiced that, you might not have been able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's the skill of meditation. But anyway, we should energy, right? What do we mean by energy and energy work, right?
Yeah, what do you mean? I don't know if what is energy work? Is that like chakras and is that like the energy body kind of thing? I don't actually know what you're referring to when you're talking energy work, or is it just like an umbrella?
So there is a phrase energy work, and it refers to a whole body of energetic phenomena. Like you named the chakras are an energy system that is, for those of you who don't believe it exists or don't find it useful, it is a map. It is a system. It does exist. It's kind of hard to believe it exists unless you've had some sensing into it.
If you don't like if you don't know what it is, you don't know what it is. That's how I would say. There's people that know what it is. People don't know what it is.
Right. And you can learn and you can practice and you can build up your intuition of getting used to that map. So there's that map. There's something called the energy body, which is part of a different map. And
what verbatim does that stuff get?
There's like a whole meditative field of various subtle bodies. So there's a book called Subtle Bodies or Subtle Energy. Anyway, there's something like 36 different traditions with subtle bodies in them, and they say there's this many, and they're about this far from the body, and this is the shape of them. And then
I think there's different ways of splitting it up and stuff. Yeah,
right. So when we usually, where would I put the word energy work? So the phrase energy work covers those things and also covers chakras, energy body, but also if someone gonna have to go into story to describe this one. So I knew a guy who he went to an energy healer, and the energy healer looked at him and said, "You have this dark rope around your body, and it's like squeezing you and choking you and something like that." And the energy healer said, "Let's get rid of it." And so did some sort of psychotechnology that would remove this thing that's knotted on and tied up and strangling, and cleared it. And then my friend, unfortunately, this is the joy of anecdotal territory. My friend said that within a couple of days, one of his very good friends like flipped out and got super mad at him and then like left his life. And he has a hunch that this friend in retrospect was quite a bad influence on his life. And this clearing of this dark rope that this person had described had also cleared out his relationship to this friend, and the friend had found their own way to a different journey in life. So that is a type of energy work that the energy healing person could perceive there was something in relation to this person, and then could work on and clear out that strange energy phenomena. So
this could be like there are I mean
I would propose that there's like a psychology connection here. So, in doing that strange energy work, he worked on a part of this person's psyche that was somehow encouraging the friend to be a shitty friend and stay around. And then the friend did something and he accidentally just went, "No, I'm not interested." And then the friend flipped out or something. And so it changed.
If you want, we could probably like trace out if it were true, hypothetically, like this is a what possibility that it could have been from the beginning.
So the cool thing and the thing that I found really fascinating is that in this story, this anecdote, the energy healer proposed to be able to sort of perceive a black rope around the person's body, which is when we're talking about psychotechnologies, we're talking about gathering information from sort of an extrasensory system that is psychological, but sort of tacked onto our existing sensory perceptions. So described visually, it looks like a black rope. Now, obviously, we can all be like, but there is no black robe here. Like,
No, but it's yeah.
Is some metaphor of a black robe or some
No, it's
perception of
like
the existence?
image. The way I describe it's like your mind is creating an image around it, and that's the way, like that's a way of telling you information.
Right.
So it's not quite a hallucination, and it's not quite a delusion because you're aware it's not. There's no matter, like there's no particles there. That there's no rope fibers, right? But there is this image of a rope, and that is real. That is like real, and it's not a metaphor, but also it is a metaphor.
Right.
But
So
also it's not.
I want to bring back the thing I said about 5 minutes ago about sensitivity. So there's a proposal here that there is the client in the scenario was carrying something that was like the psychological metaphor of a black robe, and the energy healer type person was sensitive enough to be able to describe it with that metaphor, and then sensitive enough to be able to do some sort of action on that psychological phenomenon to clear it out. Whereas, in my time as a good scientist, I was never sensitive enough to see such a thing until I broke into starting to listen to the strange, mystical, random noise, random thoughts that pop into my head and that sort of thing, and to be able to place them with greater phenomenology of sensing.
Yeah, and I think that's what's going on. It's like there's all this like stuff that shows up that we learn to filter out as kids, and like psychotechnologists will learn to be able to see that again, and also know that it's a different part of reality. Like it's a different dimension of reality.
So there's a piece of my journey here, which I would call the signal and the noise, where when I started really in the scientific territory, I was trying to understand what was signal and what was noise. And then, and obviously there's lots of noise and it's confusing to work out what the signal is. Like, for example, what causes me to wake up feeling great and refreshed and having a great day versus waking up feeling groggy, right? There's potentially a whole handful of factors that contribute to my wakeful energy. And so trying to find out which one is the actual signal, which one actually made me feel great, and which one is just kind of noise, like, last night I ate a bunch of salty food. Is that relevant or not? Or I drink a lot of water.
Like you get a bunch of ideas and hypotheses at first. Yeah.
Right. So I ate the salty food, I drank a bunch of water, and then I peed all night long, and then I woke up groggy because I hadn't slept enough. Like, was that the fault, or was there something else going on again?
That's where I think the testing comes in. Like you need to like test that.
Right. So when I was really in the scientific domain, there was signal and noise. There was in fact there was lots of noise and no signal because I couldn't work out what was what. And I was like, let's work out what's what. Let's run experiments. Let's try these things. And then as I moved into the strange and mystical territory, what I realized is there's actually no noise. It's all signal, but it's all very confusing because the signal is sort of all over the place. Which is, and I'm saying it this way and using this like analogy of signal and noise is that from that the mystical perspective, there actually is no noise, and
there is no noise. There's only signals from other perspectives.
Right, signals from other things that are clearly getting in the way. And from this perspective, it's noise.
Within the frame, like noise only exists within a frame. Signal versus noise is only in a frame, right?
And so it's a very different worldview to be like, there's no such thing as noise. I just don't know what to do with this information. Then that's noise. I need to reject it. Like, if you take ADHD. Classic ADHD is I'm trying to work on a thing and I'm getting distracted, right? There's noise. I could model it as noise. The noise is distracting me. There's something I want to work on, and there's noise that keeps distracting me, right? But if you, from a more holistic, more psychotechnologies perspective, if we don't treat that as noise, if we treat that as information, I'm trying to work on a thing, but I'm getting other information, then I have an entirely different attitude. I need to work on either reducing the information coming in so I can take an ADHD drug and it will reduce the salience of the other information, or I can make sure to get my fill of fun, and so that when fun time happens and then work time happens, and I really do work during work time, and then I have fun time after as well, right? This is a different strategy.
Like you're sorting through all the different things that are going on, and you're trying to like you're trying to organize it in such a way that
I can also take the
that sense making becomes easy.
Take the problem of like focus and non-focus as a self-alignment problem. So it's not just that I'm aligned to do this task. I'm aligned to both this task and that other thing that keeps pulling me over there. And so I can solve it as an alignment problem, that I need to actually either accept the fact that I'm drawn in two directions, or I need to change my alignment so that I'm on task.
Yeah, that this is a thing that like is very prevalent in like the spiritual places, where they'll do what like rationality would call like moving the goalposts, but that's not it exactly. It's like you're switching what you're doing halfway through. Or like a Mote and Bailey or bait and switch kind of situation, where you declare you're going to do a thing, and then halfway through you just switch. And like that, sometimes that is the right thing to do. But also, like, I think it is important to acknowledge then that the thing that you decide that you're going to, like, that the thing you were going to decide you're going to do is now you're not doing, like, that intention is gone.
Right.
And you can't say I fulfilled that intention. Like, you sort of can, but you got to be careful, because if you're saying you fulfilled that intention because you had the intention and then you switched halfway through, then like from an argument perspective, like, the argument is invalid because you.
So I would say there's something that rationalists can do, which is they can overpromise. They can be like, I am going to get up, I'm going to run every day, run 5 miles every day.
Oh.
And then they can wake up and go like, not today, right? And then they can be like, I failed on my what turned out to be an overpromise. Whereas a spiritual person may be able to say, first of all, they probably won't promise 5 miles. They'll probably promise like at least some movement. Like
or if they promise 5 miles and they didn't wake, then they'll be like, okay, I'm going to change it. I'm going to do it a couple times a week because I'm up.
Right.
But you can't tell people you're running 5 miles a week if you've changed your.
Right.
That you're going to run 5 miles a week.
So there's something where like someone who's more spiritual may look less stable because they can't promise hard things.
Right.
But internally, they're going to look like they can adapt on the fly. Like, oh, I was up late last night. I can't run this morning. I'll have to skip a day. Without feeling like a failure for having skipped a day. Like the rationalist may have that, like, I'm going to try really hard. Oh, I failed. Oh, no, I'm a bad person because I failed. Like, oh.
Right. And I think there are two ways this can go. One is that you become wishy-washy and you're not real. And you have
I think at times it's healthy to not promise
you
can deliver.
Sorry?
It can be healthy to not promise things if you don't think you can deliver. Like, oh, I don't think I can.
No, you shouldn't be promising things you can't deliver.
Right.
Yeah.
And then so you said become wishy-washy, and the other one was.
So if you're saying, so you can become wishy-washy, where if you can't deliver it, like if you're making a commitment. So I see what you're saying now. You can make a commitment to something and then fail at it, but keep trying to hit that commitment.
Mm-hmm. And
then you can have a commitment to something, fail, and then decide that commitment itself wasn't the right one, and you should have been doing this other thing. Or you can, right, like, so each, like, those are two different strategies where you have the standard that you're trying to reach, that you work on and you get there, and then the other one is that you're doing the thing that you should be doing, and you think it's this thing, and then later when you do a thing, you update and realize that actually that's not what you should be doing. And so that one has the risk of going wishy-washy, where you say you're going to do something and then you're not going to follow through, and then they both really do, right? Where you're not following through. And I think there's a couple different ways to deal with that. And the more spiritual path would be to be like more vibe kind of situation, where, well, it's not that I wanted to run 5 miles every day, it's that I wanted to, like, exercise. And so actually, like, I could do this other thing, like I could do the walks instead, and then that would be the spirit of what's going on, without necessarily like the actual commitment of what's going on.
You use that word. You've used the word spirit.
I use that word on purpose because I think
it's appropriate.
Yeah, it's appropriate, and I think that is spirituality. When you're trying to understand the spirit of things and you're living in that world, that is what spirituality is.
Yeah.
I know this is a little I don't know, it could be blasphemous or whatever, but like I really do think these are the same things. Just usually spirit, spirituality.
Why don't we say it like this? This is the proposal that Daniel's making. Daniel is making the proposal that these are the same things, and we leave it up to the listener to draw their own conclusions as well.
Yeah, and to make an argument for my case, because I think it is easy to not believe it, but the case where I think is distinguishment is almost always when people refer to spirituality, they refer to the spirit of existentialism. So like purpose to life, meaning to existence, versus what is the point of my commitment to run 5 miles a day, right? Like it's like it feels like low and unimportant. But like, what's that spirit behind it, or what's that intention or vibes or whatever? Is spirituality just not all encompassing? It's just a spirit. Or spirit to corpse, right? That's another one, like the morale of an army.
As in okay. Spirit. I see. Yes. The vibes of, do you still want to do the thing?
Yeah, you got an army there, and like keeping up their spirits, and like, because you gotta be very careful when you have an army, because if they don't like your vibes, then they're just gonna like take you over, right?
Right. And I want to make a special mention for the way that we call alcohol spirits as well, and the curious connection as to why we call it spirits.
It lets you reach these other points because you stop having the need to make sense.
No, I actually do think that alcohol was named spirits in connection to spirit. Some form of spirit, that it was when you drink alcohol, you have more of a spirit to you.
I think this is true. Like alcohol exists on like different, like when you're doing alcohol, you're existing on different energy wavelengths. So like in the Talmud they say nichnas yain yotze sod. So in comes wine, out comes secrets. And and like that's true. Like when you're drunk, you're in a different, there's like a different truth or a different thing that's coming out, and it's like not as functional and not as good or whatever, but it is something that I think provides value when you do it occasionally. And I know for me, like even when I would go to parties and I would not want to drink, but I would just tell people I'm drinking, and then I get to do whatever I want, and oh, it's fine, I'm drunk, right? And I don't mean like bad things, by the way. Like I don't mean like assault or anything, because that's
like speaking more casually.
Yeah, but like just doing crazy shit, like oh, we're gonna do this thing now, like
let's climb that tree. Okay.
Like guys, let's go get McDonald's now. It'll be awesome, like or whatever. Like no, but we're having like, or like let's just start singing, right? Like you can't really do that in regular life. You can't just like everybody starts singing. Like that's weird, right? But if you're drunk, it's fine. Yeah. And if you say if there's alcohol at the party, it changes the vibe in such a way that you could just do that even if you're not drunk.
Right. Okay, so energy work. I want to go back to energy work a little bit. So I realize we build this map of what do we mean by energy. I've talked about like an energy healer can modulate something, but there's this difficulty of sensitivity, right? And what I had not noticed was the way that it is difficult to be able to explain that the sensitivity to someone who hasn't yet sensed the nuance that I'm describing in these systems.
I'm not sure I'm understanding what you're saying. Tell me more.
I'm like, what I want a rationalist, central rationalist human to be able to listen to this and go, oh, that's what they mean by energy work. Oh, that's fine. I can get along with that. Like now I can communicate with these people and I can understand it. But there's still a difficulty here if someone like, okay, this is what the language says. I take this as a postulate. Elliot has postulated these things, but I still personally don't have the sensitivity to attune to these finer details. And so unfortunately, I am missing lived experience to be able to map it to my own phenomena.
Okay, so we want to find like, I think like an example of a lived experience that everyone would have where they have done or do or seen people do energy work.
Right. And there's a this is a little bit of integral theory, bringing the upper left quadrant of the 4-quadrant model. The interior subjective, actually examples from your own life that can map into, like, it's very cool. And this is a scientific thing that scientists like to view the world from an exterior perspective. We like to stand, like, I'd like to do chemistry in a beaker, right? It's in front of me. It's only this. The experiment is only inside this small bubble in which I add things, and it's contained. And then as we get out into like biology, you still do things in petri dishes. But when you get to psychology, you have this difficulty in running a controlled experiment because you are yourself kind of unstable. And so if you try and repeat a psychological experiment, depending on how you feel on the day, you may ask the question slightly differently. And so if you're surveying people, you have this. And so there's a need to stop doing science that is isolated in the vial and start doing science. What happens is it's kind of bad science, or it's like you should be less confident about the science you can do that involves yourself because you're so unstable, right? Even just like the shaky hand, if you're trying to cut something straight, right? You're not going to be as good at it because you have a lot of uncertainty in your own system. And so there is, at the same time as it's bad science, it's better than nothing. And so it's a non-zero science. So what we need to start mapping into the subjective interior experience and do the science that includes you rather than the science in which you can step out and look upon the system. Mm-hmm. Which is I
think these are two different problems. And I think you're trying to solve, like to be able to like, let's say now, to have an example or to explain what energy work is, you're saying that we need to be able to actually do some level of creating natural experiments almost.
Well, we need a map, if I'm like, so I told an anecdote about the guy with the rope around him, and I picked that out of the hundreds of anecdotes that I take like a minuscule amount of evidence from. And that's, and for me, I've decided that
right, go over well.
So there's a few problems here. One is it's an anecdotal piece of evidence, right? Which means that story could have been made up.
Well, it's an anecdotal story. It's right. More like already calling it evidence is I think people are not gonna like that.
Right, but here's the.
I mean, we'll say this: it's evidence, but what it's evidence of is
right. It's maybe debatable and confusing and like complex. Right.
Yeah, is it evidence that you have friends? Yes.
Evidence that someone told me this story. Well, hopefully I didn't lie about that. It actually came from someone.
Yeah, I think you're trustworthy.
Evidence that the guy in the story had an experience approximately what he described, like.
Probably, yeah.
Like, what does that?
Had an experience that this is how he's describing. I think that we can believe that.
Right.
Right.
So, evidence,
and that's big. Right. That's big. Like people having experiences and then they're describing it, and now we can say, yes, you had an experience and this is how you're describing it.
Right.
It means that we have a language and we have an experience.
Mm-hmm. So I remember when I was more central in the rationality sphere and I had no evidence of my own that I had seen weird phenomena, that I had no reason to believe other people's weird phenomena because I hadn't seen any weird phenomena. Like someone's like, there's ghosts, and I'd be like, I've never seen the ghosts. And they're like, I stood in the haunted house and felt the ghost, and I'd be like, what haunted house? That was just an old house.
Yeah.
From my perspective, I didn't have anything to map it to in my own experience. And so it was very difficult for me to translate from the universe in which there was no mysterious things to the universe in which there are mysterious things that are hard to describe that do point to something. And so I had this phenomena where it's like they're explaining the elephant. So I've got many blind men feeling the different part of the elephant, describing it to me and saying, well, it has a snake-like part to it, right? There's the trunk, the trunk, and there's someone saying it's got these big columns, and those are the legs of the elephant.
Yeah, so the elephant.
And here I am going like, I don't understand why they think what this elephant-shaped object is. I don't know that it's an elephant. I don't have any idea what this elephant-shaped object is that they're describing because I have nothing. I have nothing to map it to in my own experience. As soon as I saw a bit of the elephant, I was like, oh, there's a difficulty here in the describing it. It's a phenomena with poor describability.
Yeah.
A real phenomena, because not only are those people talking about the elephant, but there are thousands of people all over the place anecdotally describing elephant-like phenomena. Damn well, probably an elephant, even though it's a hard to describe elephant.
Yeah. That was exactly with me with meditation, where I'm like, oh, that's all bullshit, whatever. Like, and then like Shinzen Young, like his stuff I found really, like, he started to like have experience. He was able to like point to the experience and then say word and just name it. And then I'm like, oh, that's what he's talking about. And then he would do things and he would say things. He's like, I know it works like this. And so like at the beginning, I was very much like, he would say this thing and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to think about it. And I'm going to try to experience it and see what is the next thing that he's going to say.
Right. So you tried to build it in your own interior experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you had the map. Then you could transfer from his to yours.
Yeah. And then when he would say things, and then at the beginning I was getting it wrong. And at the beginning I would be like this and be like that. And then I'd pause it and I'd think about it and be like, is this correct? Like, is he right? And then I would follow it along and be like, yeah, he's actually really good. But it was like always that. And then when I started to be able to like finish the sentences, then I was like feeling really good about myself. I'm like, oh, I'm at this level,
right,
or whatever, like whatever.
So
a lot of it's the framing. Like he does it in a way that's easy to understand. So like as you play this game with him, like I start to feel really smart because I'm like, oh, I'm a Shinzen Young level. But like then when I'm like, okay, now I'm just gonna be like meditation master, and I'm realizing, oh wait, actually the hard part is framing it in an easy way to understand.
Right. So this thing where you created a map in your own experience to be able to make an analog to other people's experience.
Yeah.
That's what.
Yeah. And then when I was starting able to do that in real life, where people would say a thing, I'd be like, oh, this technique. And they'd be like, what's wrong with you? I'd be like, no, this is a Shinzen Young technique. Like, right? And then all of a sudden.
Authorized spirituality because it falls under a lineage that already exists.
Yeah. Like instead of them doing the mapping themselves so that they can see if I'm right or not, like, and actually dealing with the problem that they're trying to solve, they'd rather have someone tell them the answer.
The authority technique. Yeah. Right. So that's why this thing that you did where you created it, you had your own experience that you could map to the other one, is what I'm describing in terms of people need their own little interior experience of maybe a weird thing that happened or a thing they don't understand that may have had a spiritual flavor to it for them to start to see the shape of the elephant for themselves.
Well, it doesn't even have to be weird. It could just be a common one or something that they're thinking about, something that they noticed, something that came up.
Is this like you're thinking about a friend and then you call them the next day and they say, I was just thinking about you yesterday. And you're like, oh, at the same time that I was thinking about you. How unusually unlikely. Now, to be honest, you have a guy who every time I chat to him, he's like, I was just thinking about you yesterday. And I'm like, okay, at this point, you just say that.
You're saying that or you're thinking about me too much.
He's also like a sort of very spiritual person, but I think he just says that every time I call him. And so I'm just going to like let that one go. I think he enjoys people feeling like there's a mystical connection there or something.
Yeah, but that's both like his line. He's creating false.
He's a bit of a showman about his spirituality as well. Yeah. Like enjoys creating the show of it. So I'm not gonna.
I don't mind the show, but if you're saying you're thinking about someone and you weren't thinking about them,
look,
like you're lying.
To be honest, I think about lots of things all the time. So maybe he just does think about everyone all the time.
Yeah, could be.
But to be fair on that one, I've done the science, right? So how would you? If the science on this is sometimes I think of him and then I decide I'm gonna not call him and then wait and then. Other times I'm like, oh, I'm thinking of him. I'm going to call him now because I didn't think of him in the last week. And then if he says the thing,
you're doing like a differential, like, you're noticing when
every time I call him.
And then doing things around, like at random intervals around that.
Yeah.
I think there's something scientific about that, but it's also the follow-up, like how are you collecting the evidence? So if he always says that,
yeah, at this point he always says it, and so I'm like,
always says,
just let him have his funny saying, and
yeah, he's just lying. I don't like that. Like
I don't know if he is lying. He might have actually just thought of me, but that's just how it went.
then he's thinking about you too much. Like if he's thinking about you every day, and you're not like talking every day or something, or like
My sense is
if it's your dad, maybe.
my sense is his desire to make people feel like he is thoughtful and thinking of them and like in the positive light.
But he's lying. Like he's pretending he's the spiritual.
Well, I don't know.
And he's not.
I don't actually know if he was or wasn't thinking.
You should ask him. You should confront him about this. See, this is what the follow-up would be like, to actually confront and be like, look, are you actually thinking about me every day? Like what's going on here?
It's okay. So my hunch about this person is he would just smile, like a very big grin, and like wink, and just that would be it. You wouldn't get the answer.
He's just flirting with you.
Yeah,
like, he's doing the lying flirting, you know what I mean? Like the
yeah. There's an enjoyable flavor. Anyway, yeah. So energy work. This is our topic, energy work. Energy, what is energy?
Yeah.
And
so what is energy? So I think we can probably just wait, we did energy. No, you want to.
Well, the question is, have we created
work? Yeah.
Have we created a map that is good enough to help people understand, people who are not in the jargon of energy, understand what people mean when they talk about energy? Have we created a big map?
Well, we did explain it. So I guess maybe like we did explain at the beginning. So you're looking for like okay, a bunch of things came to mind of like really like simple ways of doing this. So like one of them would be like if you're having like a serious event with serious things going on, and then there's like a pause and you fart really loudly, and then everyone starts laughing, like that, like you've broken the tension, right?
Like you've changed the energy.
Yeah, the energy was in such a structure that you've now broken it.
Mm-hmm.
And that you've transferred it. But it's like a lower level. Like I think comedy is lower. Not that I'm not saying bad things about it, but it is at like a lower level than like a drama. But yeah, that would be a transformation of energy. The energy in the room has now shifted. I think everybody has had that experience probably.
Maybe there's another question to hear. Can we make some psychotechnologies that interface with energy right here, like on the spot?
Should I fart really loudly? Okay, sure.
I
have something in mind.
Not very specifically, but I was like, okay, let's try interface with energy.
Okay.
Oh, you know what we've never done here? We've never explored chakras. So we haven't. No. The base chakra system.
Oh yeah. Yesterday we kind of did.
Right.
It wasn't chakra specifically, but it was. Yeah, that was chakra. Like that was. I was thinking about the chakra network.
Right, but we didn't explore how they feel, or so the basic chakra system. There's a bunch of different chakra systems, and there's people arguing over which one has primacy or which one is true. But there are 7 chakras down the body. As we know from science, you cut open the body, you don't find them. So they're not really an organ or a physical structure in that sense. They're more of an energetic structure, which, again, we're talking about the vibes or the things we can kind of feel. We got to kind of be sensitive enough to feel them. But there are 7 of them. So
for people, the way I would describe this is it's like an advanced grounding meditation. So if you know, like a grounding, like close your eyes and feel your body, or the body one, I forgot, where you go through all the different muscles.
Oh, like body parts.
What, the what?
A body parts meditation.
No, it has a right name.
It's something called the 32 body parts meditation, and you go through.
No, I'm not talking about one. This is like simpler, where you just notice your feet, notice your
body scan, like a mild body light version of
a body scan. Yeah, body scan.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is more of a less about the physical body and more about some sort of energetic phenomena body. So more perceivable.
I don't know. I use it like to me they're overlaid with each other.
Right. So when we're talking about physical space, they quite literally appear on top of each other. They do seem to influence each other in some way. But of course, again, you have to be sensitive enough to the phenomena in order to be able to pick it up and perceive it.
Yeah. And I'm not an expert at this. Like I'm still working on this the chakra. Like my chakra system's not aligned yet, and I'm not always able to distinguish them.
Right. So maybe we can go through the chakra system and see if we can notice stuff. So starting at the base of the spine, the first chakra is located. It's called the root chakra. It's located in the middle of the legs, sort of at the bottom, underneath the genitals, sort of, and it's red. And it's just chakras are often described as energy attention centers. So energy centers, attention centers, and that's something I haven't even mentioned at all in the last hour and a half, is that energy and attention are sometimes used interchangeably, where you can say, I have excited energy, and you can also say that my attention is excitable and interested in going into excited places. And so sometimes energy and attention, okay. Sometimes they can, there's like a map there between the two.
They interact with each other, and sometimes they'll be like similar, but I think they are different phenomena.
Right. So if you put your attention at the root chakra location, so in between the legs, what do you notice? And feel free to say, I don't notice anything. Stop making me do weird experiments.
Okay, yeah. So the way I do this is, I hate talking about this because, like this chakra, this like node specifically, just because like I feel it in my butt, like in my butthole. That's, or like my pelvis, and I hate talking about that part of my body.
So there's a difficulty here that when we start talking about energy phenomena, they're not quite like an organ, like they have a physical location in the body. They sort of have a approximate area, and then in someone's own interior space, somewhere within the approximate area, you have to find the thing. And so it can be an inch to the left, an inch to the right. It can be like,
oh, I don't do it that way. I don't do like there's like a specific point that this is, and this might just be a lack of sensitivity on my part. But like I use like the whole like pelvis, almost like the like the pelvic muscles pretty much is where I usually anchor up to. But yeah, sometimes it is like my butt or my groin.
Right. So if you were to, so the color of the chakra is red. So if we bring the visual field to something like the color red, the imaginary visual field, and we put the attention in that area of the body, and
I don't usually use the colors as well either.
That's okay. That's good. This will give you like new experimental territory to explore. So it's kind of red. You put your attention in that part of the body. Do you think that this particular chakra is bright and healthy and flowing and doing the things that it should do? Or is it like dull, or is it too bright, or is there any particular thing you can notice about it? Or is it just like fine?
It seems fine.
Okay, right. So I noticed that even in pausing and reflecting, both of our postures.
Like it seems relative, like fine for me. Like it seems my normal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there was something where just paying attention to it made us both shift postures to straight back and attention, which may have been.
Yeah, I'm trying to give it that breathing space to because like it's not like for me I'm not like I don't look at it or do it or do anything. Like what I'm doing is I'm just letting it talk to me almost,
right?
Instead of me talking to it. Like it's an what do you call embodiment?
Mm-hmm. Right. So here's, in general, I would be encouraging people to let it be natural as it chooses to be, and like try not to modulate it too much, because you can just work yourself into effortfulness if you modulate. But here's another cool experiment. Can you try draw energy into this particular part of the body? Like imagine there's like there's red stuff like everywhere around you, and you're just going to pull it towards that part of the body.
You know what? I think I've been combining the root and the sacral chakra together.
Yeah, this is.
I think that's why I've been confused around it. Yeah, I'm not good at this stuff. Like I'm still learning this stuff.
Right. try this thing. So imagine there's red energy sort of around you, and draw it into that part of the body so that it's gonna get brighter and like have more energy, right? And what we should notice is something very, very subtle. If anything, like a difference.
Is that anger, or is that?
You can have anger sort of there and anger flow through there. Right. So it does seem like there is some modulation of the phenomena of the root chakra there. Like something very subtle has changed as I look at you, debatably so. What do you notice?
Yeah, I'm spending a bunch of time just trying to access it. Like it's not readily available to me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but the lights, like the light is different. The room is different now.
You did just close your eyes for 30 seconds, and the visual field changes when you close your eyes for 30 seconds. But totally, we've balanced. If you imagine your psyche as a balance between a whole bunch of forces, we've just balanced this one to be brighter. And so now, like my voice is suddenly a little bit deeper. And I didn't intentionally do that. I just hung out with the root chakra, and suddenly I'm like, I got a deepness to me.
Yeah,
which will sort of reorganize itself later.
Yeah, the room's not as bright anymore.
Right. Okay. So we can leave that one there, and we can go to the next one. You want to keep going here?
Yeah. Sorry, you're moving fast. I'm not. I haven't. See, now I'm kind of embarrassed because I feel like I should have mastered this by now. But
look, even many energy type people do not really master chakras. They're a map, right? So there's a phenomena that can be perceived.
I think about it a lot, but I don't do it enough.
Right. Well, I'd say that a lot of people also don't ever think, oh, I can modulate this phenomena. Like there's a chakra thing. Why don't I try add the energy to it? Why don't I try make sure it's spinning like it's meant to be spinning? Like, why don't I just pay attention to it and see what comes to mind as a related, we're going to cautiously say related.
Yeah, no, I have known that like the lower ones are farther away from me. Which is a weird thing to say. Like it's weird to think that your pelvis is far away from me. So yeah, I'm starting to be able to distinguish, I think, between.
Do any particular memories come to mind, or like as you hang out with you don't actually have to share them, but like, does any, so when I really did exploration of what chakras were, there was like a different attitude about my reality. So in various different chakras. So maybe like you said, there's a bit of anger there, right? And so I would sit and I would just do sort of daydream or whatever would happen. But the topic of the daydream could sort of stay constant across the chakras. But the attitude that I would have to that topic could be like, it was like looking at it from a different angle sometimes, because yeah, fascinating.
Oh, I tend to think of these things as more attitudes than stories.
Right, but so like a daydream, like a content or what I was thinking about would come up, but my attitude would be influenced by whichever chakra I was in.
Yeah.
And so, like, let's say the other day I was driving and I like slammed the brakes really hard because there was someone stupid in front of me. One attitude would be I could be annoyed at them. Another attitude, I could be more understanding of what other people are struggling with in their own lives as well. Like they're different perspectives on the same issue. And there could be many more perspectives on that issue. That it's like the color in which I would look at the world through. do you like the root chakra? Like, is it nice and stable or something, or is it?
Do I like it?
Yeah. Like ultimately, we do want to like all of our energetic phenomena because that's a healthy internal relationship to things. But at the outset, you might not. You might be like, this one's a bit weird. This one's out of character for me. Like,
No. I feel like it's like I'm not necessarily in touch with them as much as I should be.
Sure.
And I feel guilty about that.
Yeah, it's all right. You can work on that in the future. But good to note such guilt.
But like not too much guilt, because whatever, it takes two, right?
Mhm.
You know, like, I haven't called someone in a while, and they haven't called you in a while.
Right.
And then whoever says it first, whoever goes first, oh, you haven't called me in a while, like that person wins. The other one has to feel bad. No, but that's not good. Yeah, I'm starting to be able to like notice, I think, the distinction between the problem with doing this stuff on live is that sometimes like I won't know what the insight is until I've like processed it all the way, and then when I get there, I'm like, oh shit, this is private. I shouldn't have said anything.
Yep. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I would say that there's some cool stuff for anyone with like back pain. Pay attention to the nearest chakra for a bit of time. See if you can add energy to the chakra and like see if that changes the way that the back pain feels. See if that like improves things. If you got like a gut,
Yeah, I've done a lot of the family system stuff with it, so that we're all you know, in theory, like same side of good faith with each other. But yeah, like it's like something about like that intimacy, or that like the connection, and like that the clear flow of energy through is still needing. It's not done. It feels very tedious the way I'm doing it. How are you doing? How do you do it?
how do I do what? How do I pay attention to a chakra? Or
yeah, what's the psychotechnology for accessing your root chakra?
So when I started, I actually started with singing bowls. There's a guy who has some really great singing bowl recordings. His name is Sonic Yogi. He's got one for each of the chakras. So I have headphones that are bone conduction headphones. So they sit in front of the ear and they vibrate here. And I would put on the headphones and I would lie around and I would listen to the Sonic Yogi, and I would hang out with it. So I would have the sound in my ears. I would put my attention in that part of the body. I would, there's a syllable, there's a color. So I would bring all of these different objects together because they're meant to be a cluster. And I would sort of put my mind on all of them at once. And then because when I was doing this, my meditation wasn't so good, couldn't keep attention. I would do that. And then so one option was to try really hard to stay on it for about a minute and then relax. And another is to just start there and relax and see where I end up. And often where I would end up is a memory related to that part of the body, or a memory related to the attitude that chakra is meant to have. And then I would be processing relevant stuff. And, you know, the mind will wander. So it'll wander to the memory, and then it'll wander back to the sight, the color, and then it'll wander back to the audio, and then it'll wander back to the location in the body, and it'll sort of wander around. But what I would try and notice is I would try and notice the area in the body, and if it felt like there was lots of energy there, or if it felt balanced. And I would sort of build up this intuitive map of that whole terrain.
The thing is, the thing about that is, like, I like that story, but that's all very like third eye chakra.
It's all internal.
It's all, well, it's all going to be all internal because it's all chakras, but it feels like it's you're telling me this story and these things like that you're conceptualizing in your mind.
Right. Well, that's because I'm a mind heavy person.
Yeah.
So another thing you can do is you can like try and locate where in your body your attention hangs out, and wherever it is, move it towards and move it to the chakra spot. So usually people hang out behind
Okay, yeah. This is reminding me of yesterday's talk.
Yeah.
So you're sending like the signaling down to the
Right. So there's sort of a thing where we have the vantage point from and the vantage point to, right? So I look out from here at my screen in front of me. But what I want to do is I don't want to just move the to, like I look at the screen and I can move that to the interior location in the body. I want to move the from as well to the location in the body.
right, and that's the thing that we were doing yesterday. You want those highways to be the same.
Yes.
I don't think this is correct.
Huh?
I think that you want, because the time scales are different, right? And then this is one of the problems why I'm not super getting into this. The time scale for like the lower chakras, they exist across patterns that take a lot more time. And so you need to versus like the time period for talking or thinking, it's much shorter scales. Right, where the root chakra would be like survival, right, or safety, and then you have spectrum, and then you have the sacrum, like the orange one, which should be sexuality. Like these take a lot more time. Like your sexuality is much more of your survival is over your whole life.
Right.
And your sexuality is over your whole.
There's still an ability to momentarily look and momentarily occupy, but yes, the topic of them is deeper and longer. And
right. So when you're,
but you can you can be like, am I safe right now? Like, okay.
Yeah. So that happens a lot, but I think, yeah. So that did happen a bunch at the beginning where there was a lot of fear that I was working through. And now it's like I think the lower stuff is much more quieter, but I also let it influence me. So that the fear helps create the fear has or like the safety, like my existence is sort of permeated. It's like this like permeation throughout my experience, and it helps create the frames.
Right. So there's a need to create an other in order to permit it to influence me. So if I lie on my bed and I have my hand next to me and I say, hand, how do you want to move? And I'm going to sit here and go like, why did I just talk to myself? I'm just talking, I haven't created an other. But if I'm like, okay, imagine if my hand were its own creature and I could actually talk to it and I could invite it to move in the ways that it was interested to move in, then I give it enough other like psychological other energy that I can invite it to move in ways that could be curious or fun or interesting. And then I can be like, okay, hand, when you're ready, try do a thing. And then go like, what do you feel like? And it may do nothing for like 5 minutes until it's like, and then it might be like, well, I'm bored, I'm gonna start doing stuff. Like it may actually come up to, but I need to give it permission to have a life of its own.
Yeah. You need to like recognize its autonomy.
Yeah.
And the hand is weird. Like I wouldn't really recognize hand autonomy, but I would recognize like arms autonomy more.
Right. So same thing goes for this chakra location. You need to recognize it as something that you can even inquire of and connect to and ask questions of before.
Yeah.
Like if I just yell at my foot and be like, hey foot, what's your problem? Like it's gonna like, I don't even know.
Don't be mean to it or it's gonna hide, right? You gotta,
right. Oh no, where's my foot gone? It's gone.
I want you to like, it's co-creative, right? I want you to do the things that you want to do, right? Like I want you to exist.
Right. And so there's probably a difficulty if you've never given permission to that exploration of other. There's difficulty for the first time you do it because it's just weird and strange and odd and you've got no foundation.
But like, I think that's where the family systems, internal family systems,
right?
Parts work is really good because you get to do it on much smaller scales, and then you learn how to have a relationship, which is interesting. And then once you can use those, this is the thing I really like about the family system, the parts work, is that you use it to build a relationship with yourself, and then you get to import the insights and export the insights into your relationship with others. and then you can just do this for everything.
You know that my website is relationshipwithyourself.com.au.
Wow, what a plug.
I'm going for a branch of psychology that is a recognition of a relationship with yourself and forming a relationship with yourself, modulating it, and then having a positive relationship with the various two-way streets that is a conversation with yourself. Because obviously,
well, it could be more than two ways, but yeah.
Well, yeah, definitely. But for starters, positive in both sides, like the win-win. It's a good way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you do it, and your sense of self. The thing I like about this is that who you are becomes much bigger, right? This is like compassion, and technically speaking, this is the meta meditation, metta, METTA, where you're expanding your sense of self. And so, like the Buddhists want to do for all living things or conscious things or something.
Yeah, all beings. For the benefit of all beings is a classic phrase.
Yeah, for the benefit of all beings, which I think is like a bit much, but whatever. Everyone gets to choose what they want. But also, you know why I think it's a bit much? Because they do benefit of all beings, and then I don't feel like we vibe. And so then when you say, like, some people do this where they're like benefit of all beings, and then they're not nice to me. And then
so funny.
yeah. And then I'm like,
shadow of the Buddhists, all beings but you.
Right. And then it makes me feel really bad about myself.
Oh.
And then, but also, like, now, like, I don't generally, although I have met some people that use that phrase that are nice to me, but mostly not. So I don't really like that.
Right. Okay, so I feel like we've covered what is energy, what is energy work, a like brief play around with some chakras or some energy stuff. Is there anything else to add to the phenomena of energy work?
Oh, I mean, there's tons of stuff to add.
I think one thing I would want to add is to like get curious and like give it a try and work out what other people are talking about when they talk.
Yeah, because that's real mimetic mediation when you do that. And especially, like, this is difficult for rationalists because they're very like good faith, steelman, take things at face value. And I love that trait, like, don't get me wrong, but also, like, some people just talk really weirdly and don't do that. And
yeah, so there's when I looked at traditional Chinese medicine, now traditional Chinese medicine is a whole system of balanced energies that modulate the experience and modulate the body, and there are meridians and there are organs and there are acupressure points and there are flavors.
I thought I did acupuncture the other day.
I
was at my friend's house and he had a bunch of needles that he found, and so we and I promise it's not as sketchy as they were still sealed, and so we just like stuck needles into each other for fun.
Did you at least look at a map of acupuncture?
No, I don't think the maps. I don't.
There's something there in the maps. They're trying to.
There's something there, but it's not enough that, like, it's not in a way that I think matters for acupuncture. So we're just like sticking it in for fun. Yeah.
So
it's just fun. Nothing happened.
There's this thing in traditional Chinese medicine where certain foods have a quality to them, so they have a hot heating or a cooling, or a excessive or a deficient or a neutral or a
like spicy food makes you hot. Yeah.
Right. Or like what called wetting and drying, and if you look at the list, you're like, what the heck do pears have to do with like crabs or something? Like, what is the quality of wetting that pears have?
I don't know what this means. I'm gonna be like this like how I want people to treat me and be like, I don't know what this system is.
Right. So this is what happened. I picked up traditional Chinese medicine and I was going like, what on earth are they talking about when they say like hot and cold, like spicy foods? And all right, I get it. Like, some foods are cooling if you say so. Like the opposite of heat.
Like lemonade is very refreshing, and spicy food is very
heating.
Right.
So
and then we have heavy foods and light foods. So like light eggs would be like light, and a roast would be heavy.
Right. So I was looking at this thing and I was like, what the heck do they mean by wet and dry? And like similar to sort of looking at the chakras.
Like crackers or soup?
No. That's the thing, right? It's not like that. It's not a like Jewish Talmud has a wet and dry distinction, but it's different.
Yeah.
The kashrut has a different, and so I looked at it and I thought about it and I hung out with it for a couple of weeks of this curiosity of like, and I read a different book and sure enough, like wet and dry, same system it describes, but without me being able to understand what the heck they were pointing to. And eventually I went and I got the foods and I tried them and I was like, what the heck do they mean? And like you try chili and you're like, oh yeah, this feels hot. And you try some of the cooling ones, you're like, okay, I guess this one. And then I realized that, oh, what they're talking about is after eating the food, how do you feel? And so cucumber is depicted as a drying food. So you eat a cucumber and then your body feels a little bit drier. And you can do this experiment at home. If you can see if your fingers are peeling or anything, and then you can eat a whole bunch of cucumbers and then you can see your skin dry out. And it's not that you feel thirsty, it's more like a quality of mucus in the lungs and a quality of like wetness and a quality
Okay, so this is a real hypothesis that you're doing.
Right. But this is
so what are some examples? Because I want to try this.
I'll tell you what, I will find it and I'll put a link in our chat of into the comments of where to find a chart of foods, and I'll send it to you and you can run experiments as well.
Yeah, and I want the most extreme ones because those are the easiest to start with.
Right. So
the ones with the largest effect size.
Really quickly, I do have the list on my phone, so I can pull it up.
Because there are definitely ones that will make your mouth feel dry,
it's not necessarily mouth dry. It's like
but this is a different phenomenon. That's what you're saying.
Right there, it's more like everything feels dry or you feel dry.
Yeah. So like just for the audience while you're looking it up.
Got it.
Oh, you got it?
Okay, so here's the amazing thing, and this is so I'm talking here about the curiosity around these subtle systems, right? So having never seen the chakras, you're gonna probably go off and like feel into them and hang out with them. But this is what I did with this system, that I was like, what the heck are they talking about when they say like drying foods? So this is particularly for damp conditions. So if you think you have like phlegm in your lungs, or if you think like you're bloated, then they propose that these foods will help you feel drier. So,
okay, real hypothesis coming up. Let's see here. Testable. We're gonna see if
so this is the thing, right? You look at these foods and you're like, what does celery have to do with garlic?
Okay, no, we'll say the thing first. So celery and garlic
these are drying foods.
Drying foods.
So the whole list is adzuki beans, anchovy, barley, button mushroom, celery, corn, daikon radish, garlic, green tea, jasmine tea, horseradish, kidney bean, lemon, marjoram, mustard leaf, onion, parsley, pumpkin, radish, scallop, and turnip. Now, if you are like, what is common?
This does feel like there's a thing here.
Right. But this is what I think. This is what I did. I was like, how on earth are turnips the same as lemon, garlic, and button mushrooms? Like,
yeah, because they're all sharp, but not button mushrooms.
Well, they're not. Well, there's horseradish, and that's a sharp one. But celery, what does celery and anchovies have?
Celery kind of is. It's not super sharp because the celery is very mild, but the celery seeds, I think.
Right. So what is the connection between anchovies and parsley? Is there a connection? Right. So this is the thing. So there's the proposal. These are all the drying foods. In contrast, there's a list here called the lubricating foods, or the foods that add wetness. So if you're really feeling quite dried out, for example, maybe if you've been sunburnt and you're feeling dehydrated, here's a different list of foods. So almonds, apple, banana, barley, clam, dairy, eggs, herring, honey, millet, oyster, peanut, pear, persimmon, pine nut, pork, seaweed. It's alphabetical. Seaweed, sesame seeds, soybeans, spinach, and tofu. Right. So here's a different cluster that isn't like that first cluster.
Yeah, this has to like feel like, I feel like if I stared at this list, I would be able to like kind of come up with a theme.
So trust me, I stared at this list and I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah,
And I
but
did.
I have a lot of cooking experience.
Yeah, me too. And anyway, so here's the list. There's lubricating and drying foods, or wetting and drying foods, and those are them. And I'll put them in the description so you can look at the list yourself.
Wait, so what would the experiment though? Because like if I eat a banana, I'm not gonna like all of a sudden get all wet.
Right. So if you were to, if you make a meal out of all of the drying foods, will you feel dried out? Like, will your skin be flakier? Will you feel like your body is dry? Bearing in mind that if you do too much, you'll kind of feel a bit off balance, and you'll probably want to drink more water or eat other foods in order to balance it.
Yeah, so this is a real experiment. I don't know that I'm gonna do this, but if
It's
somebody
not.
wants to do this, we would love
Like,
to interview you.
If you cook, let's make an easy dish like corn, mushroom, celery, garlic, maybe some pumpkin.
Well, I could make meals out of this, but like I'd have to like go shopping and then get like find the list, pick one, go shopping and do that one.
There's only like there's 5 ingredients and they're all vegetables, right? So if you have all of them and you make a dish out of them, like try it and see if you
But
feel.
is it just one? Like I eat one dish, like because I have a bunch of bananas. So if I wait till they're ripe and I just eat bananas for half a day, will that
make you feel lubricated or feel more wet?
Yeah.
Good question. You should run the experiment.
So, but like, how long do I have to go before?
So here would be. Let me make a claim, right?
For the
My claim would be that if you eat only the foods in one of those categories for a day, you will feel more dry. You know, if you eat only the dry
one
food
day, a whole
for a
day.
day, yeah.
Is that 24 hours?
Yeah. Give it 24 hours, just like to make a good conducted
Because I
experiment.
could probably go a day, like if I eat dinner tonight and then I don't eat anything after, and then tomorrow I only eat the bananas.
Okay, so you're doing lubricating foods. So the list would include, and there are enough things on that list that you can have various diet. Banana, barley, apple, almond, egg, honey. Like there's a couple of dishes. Peanut, pear.
I got some almonds, I think.
Seaweed, soybean.
Oh, you know what's the best is banana and peanuts. This is like a spiritual food, and you blend them together. It tastes really good.
Definitely like a smoothie thing. If you
It's what Sadhguru eats.
If you ever get into protein smoothies, banana, peanut, protein smoothie, that's some pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
A little bit of honey.
Yeah, apparently some people put onions in it. It's banana, peanuts, and onions. That's the one from Avatar. That's what the spiritual guy from Avatar.
I have an opinion that the flavor of cooked onions.
Oh, it's banana and onions. Yeah.
The flavor of
not cooked. I think it's raw.
I know. Yeah, that's what they say. But I have an opinion that the flavor of cooked onions and the flavor of cooked banana have a similarity to them.
Yeah, they're both very sugarful, so they caramelize.
But like, there's a very specific tasty way in which they match each other. You can try it one day if you like.
I've had both
together.
I can't say I've had them together.
Yeah, that's
maybe. This is getting a bit out of hand. There's like too much stuff to do.
All right, subtle energies. Right. So
if somebody wants to like do this for real, like we'd love to interview you about your experience.
Yeah, like how do you find it?
Leave a thing in the comments.
But there's also there's a useful trick of if you feel like if you have a cold and you are like there's a lot of fluid, you can try dry yourself out by eating drying foods and see if it works. And if it does, like there's a great useful anecdotal little phenomena. Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, like you just ate an extra banana. Like what's the big deal?
I do like bananas. I do eat them regularly. Like we get a thing of bananas every week.
Yeah.
And then it's like time because my wife likes them less ripe. I like them more ripe.
Right. So she has them early, and if she eats them all, then you don't get any. But you have them late.
Yeah, but she doesn't. She never finishes. She can't finish them all.
So
she just eats however much she wants, and then I eat the rest.
Right.
I'm starting to get a taste for it. But anyway, that's not the point. Also, my kid is he gets the nose stuffs. What we were talking about.
Right. So you can try feeding him the.
And yeah, we are giving him food to taste.
Right. So like
we're trying to give him food to eat, but he does the like baby thing where he's like, like he thinks this is eating.
Oh, like he hasn't worked out how to swallow things.
Yeah.
Right. So drying foods, you can try give him some celery, and celery is kind of a fun one because you
Yeah,
kind of
we probably can't do celery yet.
you kind of gnaw on it for a while, and then you can't really bite it if he hasn't got teeth.
Yeah.
Can you do?
The banana, I think, is probably safer.
Well, bananas are wetting food. You need a.
Yeah, no, we want a wetting food because his nose gets like the crusties.
Oh, it gets crusties. It doesn't get like wet gloves.
No, if it was wet. So what we've been doing now is we used to do like spray up his nose and then do the sucking, which is what they recommend. But now we've been doing, we'll take him into the shower.
Oh.
And so the shower gets like his face all wet, like he breathes in the steam, and then
Oh, the steam would help. Yeah.
yeah, and then all the mucus stuff gets wet. So then it's, I don't know, like the second part I haven't figured out well yet. But I gotta teach him how to like breathe out through his nose suddenly or something. Like I don't really know what to do past that. But we've been like working on it. Like it's
at some point you teach him to blow into a tissue. Like anyway, kids.
Yeah.
Energy work. So here's a whole big.
I tried, but he just kept laughing at me. I was doing like the thing, and then he's just like he just thought it was funny.
This is you need to move his consciousness in a direction, and kids just don't understand that yet. This is the like finger at the moon, right? You point at things.
Yeah.
He hasn't quite looked at the thing you point at yet.
Yeah. He doesn't do that yet. But he is like, yeah. He does do his own thing. So like when things make sense to him, he does it. And then when we do it, it reminds him or whatever. Like he does do like a little bit of associations, but yeah, I can't really tell him what to do. Like I can't. It's hard to like I can't really explain things to him yet, even through this like subtle sign language.
So
a little bit for the food. Like I'll do like the
before about making him tired. You said sometimes you sit in the room with him and you just feel tired, and then he falls asleep.
Yeah, that works better when he was younger.
Right, but paying attention to the feeling of tiredness. So that's like a little energy work phenomena. Like just paying attention, to the tired energy, and hanging out with him. It's like an energy thing.
Yeah, so that was better when he was younger, but now he's got like an ego a little bit. So he knows he exists and that he wants to do stuff. Wow. So like he's got like that gives you a natural defense against just having other people like vibe like move your vibes. Right? Because like I'm a person, if something's happening and I don't want to do it, then I'm just like gonna go away. So he does have these defenses up now a little bit. So what I did last night is I just had him, I put him on his stomach for a while, did a lot of tummy time, and so try to just tire him out.
He moves around a bunch, and then you lie.
Yeah, he doesn't really crawl yet, but he does. He doesn't, and he moves around, but he's not crawling. He's like, I don't know, like that in between stage. So, but then he gets tired. Like that's exercise for him. So do the exercise, and then gets tired out, and then post workout drink. He has a couple drinks after work, and then passes out. I play all these games with like the bottle because it's the same food over and over again, but like in the morning, and don't talk to me until I have my morning coffee. But it's just the formula, and then or the breast milk, and then at night, like if he's like get a couple drinks, or during the day get some food, makes it more fun for me. It's good vibes. It's good vibes because this is a thing. Like this is a real thing. Like with parenting is because you're doing a lot of repetitive activities, and so people can get bored and not want to do it, not be interested. And so you don't want to do that. Like you don't want to act bored and not interested around your kid all the time, because that's what they're going to think the world is.
Right.
So
because if your kid is being boring because he's a tiny baby, can't interact with you, but if you keep being boring, he's going to think everything's boring for a year or two. And
that's a bad start to consciousness.
That don't really learn to talk for a while because the parents weren't that interested in an inanimate baby, and accidentally took a while to develop.
Yeah, and I don't want to like developmentally delay him or anything like that. So we do like I do these things. Like when he was like really young, he used to like get high, right? Like he would drink it, and then you would do this thing like like that, like his eyes half closed, and so we just like get high together because I could like use his experience as like a meditation object,
Mhm.
and then that would, so instead of me just giving him vibes, he's giving me vibes, and then I would be able to like get into that high space with him, and we'd just be on the couch getting high, like me on meditation and one bottle. But now, so it's always trying to have, it's important to always try to have fun and figure out ways without forcing it, because you don't want to, because if you're forcing it, then they're just going to see, oh, life is about forcing fun. But like actually have fun, like it's a baby and I'm an adult, like I'm a human, and evolution has designed this to be a good experience. So it's a matter of letting that experience happen in enjoyable ways.
All right, it's coming up on the hour. Maybe that's good.
Yeah, that's my philosophy on parenting. And anything else?
Hopefully that was a nice overview of energy work, and like I would encourage experimentation. That's a big one for me.
Yeah, have fun with it and just like